When I was 8 months pregnant, my husband smashed an ashtray against my head. If it hadn't been for you tearing up Laura's letter to me back then, she wouldn't have missed our meeting. And that psycho wouldn't have targeted her. Sylvia, you killed Laura. Go to hell and atone for her death. I wanted so desperately to tell him the letter wasn't torn by me. But before I could speak, I was already lying in a pool of blood, consciousness fading away. When I opened my eyes again, I was back before the college entrance exams. The class beauty, Laura, stood before me in her school uniform, radiant and youthful. She shoved an envelope into my hand. Sylvia, please. I'm begging you, help me give this letter to Harlan. For a moment, I was dazed. Could it be I'd been reborn? Seeing me lost in thought, Laura asked timidly, Sylvia, are you okay? Images of Harlan's twisted face flashed through my mind, his raised arm, the ashtray crashing down again and again. A chilling dread surged through me, tangled with hatred so sharp it nearly tore me apart. I snapped back to myself and shoved the letter back into her hands. Your letter. Your business. I'm not obliged to deliver it for you, I said coldly. Laura's eyes reddened at once, her expression wounded. Sylvia, what did I ever do to make you hate me so much? You won't even do me this tiny favor? What? Why was she crying? All I did was refuse. I hadn't even done anything to her. I was just about to explain when suddenly, Sylvia, don't you dare bully Laura. Harlan stormed over like a gust of wind, shielding Laura behind him, glaring at me with righteous fury. Looking at that familiar yet still youthful face, hatred welled up so fiercely it nearly burned through my chest. I clenched my fists so tightly that my nails dug into my palms, forcing myself not to grab a chair and smash it over his head. I didn't bully her, I said, taking a deep breath, my tone flat. Believe it or don't. Then I turned to leave. Stop, Harlan barked, sharply. His voice carried an unmistakable warning. Sylvia, I'm warning you, stay out of my life. And don't you dare spread lies to my mother again. My steps faltered. Slowly, I turned around and let out a cold laugh. Don't worry, Harlan. I have absolutely no interest in your life. I turned once more to go, but out of the corner of my eye, I saw him pull Laura into his arms, holding her tightly as he vowed with rare tenderness and resolve. Laura, don't be afraid. I'm here. I'll protect you for the rest of my life. I won't let anyone hurt you again. So it was true. Harlan had been reborn too. In my previous life, I had agreed to deliver Laura's letter to Harlan. But at the entrance of our residential complex, I ran into his mother, Aunt Shang. Our families were neighbors and had always been close. Her gaze fell on the envelope in my hand, her brows lifting teasingly. Well, little Sylvia's in love now? Who's the lucky boy who wrote you this love letter? It's not mine. I instinctively hid the letter behind my back, though my face was burning. Oh really? Harlan, quick as lightning, snatched the letter before I could react and tore open the envelope. Don't look. It's someone's private letter. I cried. But it was too late. Her eyes swept across the paper, and the smile froze on her face. Her expression darkened, rage spreading like wildfire. Shameless, she spat, trembling with fury. The next second, she ripped the letter into shreds and threw them into the trash bin by the road. That little vixen, trying to seduce my son, what filth. I stood there, stunned, stammering, Auntie, what did the letter say? What did it say? Her laugh was icy, her gaze sharp as a knife. That girl, Laura, she said her gambler father's in deep debt and plans to sell her. She was afraid she'd never see Harlan again. So she asked him to meet her at some cheap motel for one last goodbye. Goodbye? Aunt Jane's voice shook with outrage. More like a scam. Trying to extort money and ruin my son's reputation right before the college entrance exam. This is his most critical time. I won't let anyone destroy his future. Sylvia. She grabbed my arm tightly, her tone fierce but pleading. Promise me you won't tell Harlan about this. He needs to focus on his studies. Nothing else. Her anger and grip left my arm aching. I hesitated, then nodded. Auntie, I understand. I admit it, part of me agreed out of selfishness. Because at that time, I was secretly in love with my childhood friend. But deep down, I knew he liked the class beauty, Lara. I never imagined my silence would become Lara's death warrant. That night, Lara went alone to the motel where she'd asked Harlan to meet her. But instead of him, she encountered a deranged killer who brutally murdered her. The news hit our class like a lightning strike. No one could even speak. Harlan was the worst. It was as if his soul had been drained from his body. He stopped attending classes. Stopped talking. Stopped caring. His mother wept day and night but couldn't reach him. Half a month before the exams, he suddenly changed. He returned to being that bright, sunny boy. He borrowed my notes. Asked for my help reviewing lessons. He even confessed to me, said he wanted us to get into the same university together. I was overjoyed. I helped him even harder. Day and night. Everything went as I dreamed. We both got into the same top university. We did research together. Dreamed together. After graduation, we married. Soon after, I got pregnant. I thought it was the beginning of happiness. But it was merely the prelude to a nightmare. One rainy night, 8 months pregnant, I was struck in the head again and again by my own husband. Sylvia, I've waited years for this moment. His face twisted with rage. My mother told me everything. It was you. You tore up Lara's letter. Each word dripped with venom. Only then did I realize his mother had pushed all the blame onto me. She told him I'd been jealous of Lara. That I destroyed the letter and caused her death. If not for you, Lara would still be alive. He roared, kicking my swollen belly again and again. Every second I've spent with you since has made me sick. Now you'll know what it feels like to fall from heaven into hell. Blood poured from my head, from my body. I screamed in agony. But no one came. And so, both my child and I died alone. But since heaven has granted me another chance at life, this time, I wish for nothing but for Harlan and me to live as two parallel lines, never to cross again. Sylvia. That familiar voice rang behind me. It was Harlan's mother. I couldn't help but quicken my pace. But still, she grabbed my arm. Since when did you become so impolite? Why didn't you greet me when you saw me? Aunt Zhang's tone was commanding. As if I owed her respect. I glanced at her coldly. Aunt. I don't have eyes on my back. How was I supposed to see you greet me? Even if you didn't see me, you must have heard me calling you. She raised her voice, clearly irritated. Sorry, Aunt Zhang. I was thinking about a math problem and didn't hear you. I said flatly. If there's nothing else, I'll be on my way. Why are you in such a hurry? She forcefully grabbed my hand. I need to talk to you. How has Harlan been doing in class lately? Is there anyone not studying well who's influencing him? Here it comes again. I don't know. Not sure. I replied coldly. You. She frowned in dissatisfaction. Then, she immediately shifted to her fake, sincere tone. Sylvia. You're the child I trust the most. Please help me keep an eye on Harlan and make sure no one affects his college entrance exam. I was speechless. She still wanted to use me as a pawn. To keep an eye on her precious son. And I'm not his mother. I have no obligation to keep an eye on him. My energy is limited. I can only manage myself. My stomach growled. I took the opportunity to say, Aunt, I'm hungry. So I won't bother you any longer. I pulled my hand away from hers with force and quickly ran toward the stairs. Ignoring her scolding me for being rude. In my past life, I had treated her like a charitable elder. And I listened to whatever she said. Only in this life did I realize she was just using me as a scapegoat. In my past life, it was she who tore up Lara's letter. Yet she told Harlan it was me who did it. This time, Sylvia, won't be so foolish. If those two have issues, they can deal with it themselves. Don't think you can use me to take the blame anymore. When I got home and saw my parents' familiar figures, tears instantly streamed down my face. My parents hurried over. Baby. What's wrong? Did someone bully you? Tell us. We'll stand up for you. I quickly shook my head, sniffing. No. It's just. Sen got in my eyes. Mom gently blew on my eyes. and Dad silently took my school bag. At the dinner table, there were all my favorite dishes. This was warmth. This was the happiness I wanted. On the first night after my rebirth, I couldn't sleep well. In my dreams, Harlan's scarlet eyes, the image of him raising an ashtray to smash me, and the sharp pain in my abdomen kept haunting me. The next day, I went to school with panda eyes. Morning self-study was about to begin, and Harlan and Lara arrived late. The two of them walked hand in hand, confidently strolling to the center of the classroom as if they were the leading couple on stage. Dazzling and eye-catching. Classmates. Harlan cleared his throat. I have an announcement starting today. Lara and I are officially together. The class was stunned, and someone shouted. What about Sylvia? Harlan. You're giving up on your first love? We have nothing. We're just ordinary classmates. Harlan and I nearly spoke in unison. The next second, I don't know who started it, but someone yelled, Harlan. Lara. Kiss. Kiss. The classroom erupted in cheers, with students either banging on desks or whistling, as if this were some entertainment show. Harlan grinned at Lara, and she shyly lowered her head. He casually wrapped his arm around her slender waist, and in front of everyone's eyes, kissed her. The air seemed to freeze for a second before a louder uproar broke out, with girls gasping and boys applauding, the entire room buzzing like a sizzling oil pan. Just then, a sigh. A cold, stern voice sliced through the chaos. What are you doing? Don't you want to study anymore? The class teacher pushed the door open. The two of them immediately pulled apart, frightened, and returned to their seats, avoiding the teacher's glare. As Lara passed by me, she deliberately flicked her long hair back, revealing the dark hickey on her neck. She threw me a look of triumph and provocation, as if she couldn't wait for me to become jealous and go crazy, showing off her victor blatantly. I just smiled faintly. If Harlan is such trash and she likes him, so be it. Harlan seemed intent on letting everyone know how much he favored Lara. Wherever they went, they were inseparable, like conjoined twins. They even held hands to go to the bathroom, afraid of losing each other. During breaks, he handed Lara a cup of milk tea, and they took turns sipping from it. Disgustingly sweet, while the entire class rolled their eyes. Wow. So sweet. Lara giggled, with milk foam at the corner of her mouth, snuggling against Harlan's shoulder like a spoiled bird. Harlan lovingly wiped it off and said, Sweeter than you. Some girls nearby couldn't help but mutter, This is so greasy. They didn't care what others thought. They even held hands and blatantly skipped class to go to an internet cafe to play games, calling it experiencing youth. On rainy days, the playground was slippery, but Harlan insisted on showing off in his skateboard shoes. And, as expected, he fell flat on his face. Lara rushed over, squatted down, and cupped his face, kissing him. It doesn't hurt. Doesn't hurt. The boys around them whistled, and the girls sighed in envy. So romantic. Like a scene from an idol drama. I watched coldly, thinking they looked like two clueless children performing. Awkward and laughable. Of course, some couldn't stand it and spoke up in the group chat. With the college entrance exam approaching, they're still dating and showing off love. Is their brain full of water? When Harlan saw the message, he immediately exploded, slamming the desk and yelling in the classroom. What's the use of studying all the time? I'm enjoying my youth. What do you guys know? He raised his chin arrogantly. No need to revise. I can still get into a top university. I just want to say, everyone here is trash. Such cool words made many classmates think he had a serious case of adolescent delusion. I couldn't be bothered with these dramas, so I continued to focus on my practice questions, memorizing vocabulary, and solving problems, holding on to every minute tightly. My efforts paid off. When the third mock exam results came out, my name was firmly in second place, while Harlan and Lara ranked dead last and second to last, a perfect match in their mediocrity. When the teacher criticized them, they didn't care at all. They still did as they pleased, wasting what little time they had left before the college entrance exam. Meanwhile, I continued day after day, immersed in a sea of problems. Working hard for my future. For my dreams. During lunch break, I lay on my desk, dozing off. Suddenly, there was a commotion around me, waking me from my shallow sleep. Did you hear? Harlan's mom made a huge scene in the principal's office. Huh? What happened? Harlan's grades plummeted. And his mother was convinced Lara seduced him. She insisted the principal expel Lara, or she'd pester him every single day. I rubbed the sleep from my eyes and let out a cold, humorless laugh in my head. Aunt Jane had always believed her son perfect. Any fault in the world had to be someone else's doing. Since I'd been woken up, I might as well get back to studying. I reached for my pen to continue working through that gnarly math problem when the classroom door was flung open. Harlan stormed in, all fury, and kicked my desk hard. Books, silver, pens, scrap paper scattered across the floor. He clamped his hand around my throat. His eyes were bloodshot, his voice a snarl. Why did you tell my mother about me and Lara? Didn't you promise you wouldn't say a word? A choking panic seized me. I fought and wriggled. But his grip was like iron. The classroom blurred. The terror of being murdered by Harlan in my last life rolled over me like a wave. I felt death close at hand. Harlan! What are you doing? Let her go. Classmates swarmed, pulling him off me with effort. I collapsed to the floor, gasping, coughing alive but shaking. The aftershock of survival still clinging to me. I didn't say anything about the two of you. I managed. Voice raw. Harlan glared, pointing a finger at me. Don't lie. My mother heard it from you. She says you told her we were sweethearts. That you slandered Mara in front of her. That's why she hates Lara so much. His mother actually said that? I was speechless. At that moment Aunt Jane swept into the doorway. All righteous indignation. I dragged her out to the center of the classroom. Aunt Jane. You say I told you that Harlan and Lara were dating? That I deliberately smeared Lara in front of you? I fixed her with a cold stare and enunciated each word. When exactly did I say those things? Where were we? Produce your evidence. If you can't, then it's libel. I'll call the police. I. Aunt John stammered, eyes darting. It was that day at the gate of the complex you told me then. I let out a derisive laugh. Oh? At the gate of the complex? I recorded that conversation. She'd pinned the blame on me once before in my past life. This time, whenever I met her, I kept a backup. I pulled a voice recorder from my pocket and hit play. The room filled with the clear recording of our exchange. I never once mentioned Harlan and Lara. The classroom fell silent. Both Harlan and Aunt Jane's faces went pale and ugly. Hear that? I didn't say a word. I looked at Harlan, my tone like ice. Then, let out a low sigh. Without hesitation, I raised my hand and slapped him hard across the face. The sharp crack echoed in the hush. Ah, Aunt Jane shrieked. How dare you hit my son? For daring to slander me. I shot back. Not one to cower. Aunt Jane flushed red and spewed indignation, but had no comeback and wouldn't meet my eyes. She whirled at Harlan and screamed. Break up with her right now. Harlan eyed and his arms around Lara and shouted through clenched teeth. I will never break up with you. I know what I'm doing. Even if I don't study, I can still get into a good university. I'll start a company, I'll be a big boss. Aunt Jane trembled with rage but could not sway him. So she took her fury out on Lara. She lunged forward, grabbing and striking. You little vixen. Trying to seduce my son, I'll beat you to death. Lara cowered in Harlan's arms, screaming. Mom. Don't hit me. Don't hit me. Don't call me Mom. Aunt Jane roared. Even angrier. Lara pressed herself behind Harlan and, after a moment, peered out, sobbing. Mom. I'm going to be your daughter-in-law. Harlan only wants me. He's already put down 50,000 and Yuana's betrothal money. He said he'll marry me after the exams. And I might be pregnant. The child is Harlan's. Her words exploded in the classroom like a bomb. Everyone, myself included, stared at Lara in stunned silence. Aunt Jane didn't believe it. She dragged Lara off to the hospital by force. And Harlan, afraid his mother would harm her, followed. The class buzzed until the homeroom teacher arrived and quelled the uproar. That night, at dinner, I came home to find my parents pressed against the wall like spies. Ears cocked toward the neighbors. They immediately straightened. Awkward. And urged me to eat something. My mother ladled soup as she gossiped in a low voice. That Harlan used to be such a nice boy. How did things get so? Getting a girl pregnant half a month along already? She whispered. Good grief. Not even a month since their public announcement. And now a half-month-old embryo? My mother leaned closer and lowered her voice further. Aunt Jane has gone completely mad. She says it's a honey trap. First, she demanded 50,000. Now she's asking for 300,000. Or she'll arrest Harlan for sexual assault. That Harlan's stubborn, he's in love with that girl and won't break up. Mother sighed and shook her head. She's even threatening our neighbors to come up with 300 cows and in betrothal money. Or Harlan won't sit the exams. Aunt Jane messaged me, asking me to persuade Harlan to focus on the exams first. Should I say something for you? My mother asked. Half helpful. Half inquisitive. My alarm bells went off. In my past life, whenever Aunt Jane and Harlan had a falling out, she'd send me in to fight their battles. When they reconciled, I was left branded the villain. Mom. Please don't get involved and invite trouble. What? Trouble? She's my good friend. My mother bristled. She was this good friend when she nearly tried to strangle you? I told them everything that had happened and how Harlan almost choked me in class. The whole sequence of events. My parents' faces hardened. My mother's hand trembled slightly around her chopsticks. How could I have treated her as a friend? He dares bully my daughter like this. My father snorted. Good thing we didn't tie our family to theirs in some silly betrothal. Otherwise our daughter would have been tormented her whole life. Dad. Mom, let's keep out of the Harlan family's affairs from now on. If they have trouble, we don't get involved. We don't want to be blamed for things we didn't do. You're right, Sylvia. My parents agreed. Nodding. I really didn't want to know about Harlan's family. But I couldn't avoid it. Especially with my gossip-loving mother around. The next evening, after returning from my evening study session, my mom eagerly told me that the drama next door had reached its conclusion. After a heated argument between the two families, it was settled that they would pay a dowry of 100 yuan first. Only after Lara gave birth would they formally register their marriage. And then they'd give another 200. Lara's father was a gambler. And he happily took the 100. Lara stayed at Harlan's family to take care of him and, conveniently, hadn't to sell rand session to nurture the baby. My mom clicked her tongue. This girl looks soft and weak, but her methods are pretty sharp. I sneered inside. Whether her methods were clever or not, one thing was for sure, she was degrading herself. The next evening, after finishing my homework, I went to the balcony to hang the laundry. As soon as I opened the door, I saw Lara and Harlan wrapped in each other's arms, kissing under the moonlight. That scene. How should I put it? It looked like two toads huddling together for warmth, making me feel disgusted. I was about to turn around and go back to my room. Out of sight, out of mind. Sylvia. Lara called out to me, her tone carrying a hint of triumph. It's so late. Why aren't you asleep? Harlan looked at me with a complicated expression. Sylvia. Lara and I are truly in love. I hope you can bless us. Congratulations. I rolled my eyes. I wish you both stay locked up together forever. And never spread your misery to anyone else. Lara's face changed. What do you mean by that? Exactly what I said. I hung the clothes on the rack. I wish you'll never regret your choice. Goodbye, idiot. With that, I turned and went back to my room, leaving the two of them standing on the balcony, staring at me. Finally, heading till filled May. The college entrance exam arrived. My mom wore a bright red kippah, saying it was to bring good luck, and my dad went with her to send me off to the exam. Coincidentally, we ran into Aunt Jane at the exam entrance. Even more coincidentally, we were both wearing kippahs. But, well, it's all about who looks bad and who's embarrassed. My mom, tall with long legs and fair skin, stood in stark contrast to Aunt Jane, who was short and dark. Aunt Jane's eyes were about to pop out from staring at my mom. What surprised me even more was that Lara was also wearing a kippah. But she wasn't there to take the exam. She came as a member of the Harlan family. She clung to Harlan like a pitiful wife. And if you didn't know better, you'd think she was there to send him off with love and care. My dad patted my shoulder. Sweetheart, do your best. We're waiting for your triumphant return. Mom smiled. Relax. Just do what you normally do. Don't stress out. I took a deep breath, gathered all my energy, and walked into the exam hall. Time flew by quickly, and in 2 days, the 4 exams were over. After walking out of the exam hall, my parents picked me up to go home. I collapsed onto my bed and slept for an entire day and night, feeling completely at ease. When I woke up, my mom had some big gossip for me. Harl and got beaten up and is in the ICU. I was shocked. What happened? Dad leaned and continued from where my mom left off. I heard Harlan was selling the exam papers 20 yuan per subject. Quite a few students bought from him. But the exam questions didn't match what he sold. Mom added. The parents of those students were furious and went straight to his house to settle the score. They were merciless. They don't even dare to call the cops. Dad lowered his voice. Because the papers Harlan sold were exactly the same as the mock exam. If they reported, he could be arrested for leaking the exam questions. Mom clicked her tongue. Their family not only has to swallow their own bitter pills, but they also have to pay money to appease the angry parents and keep things quiet. Then it dawned on me why Harlan was so sure he wouldn't need to study for the exams and could still get into a top university. He was under the illusion that the exam would be exactly like the ones in his previous life. Unfortunately, having fulfilled my fate had other plans. In my past life, the exam was based on paper A. But this time, it was paper B. So many things changed after my rebirth. Why did Harlan think the exam wouldn't change? I gazed out at the brilliant sun and lightly murmured. Serves him right. The day for checking the exam scores finally arrived. I sat in front of the computer, took a deep breath, and entered my exam number and password. A bright red 0 appeared on the screen. 0 points? My mom's voice trembled. Dad was stunned. How is this possible? Sweetheart, it's okay. You can take the exam again next year, Mom said, pulling me into a comforting embrace. But I smiled. Dad. Mom. Don't worry. The next moment, my phone rang. It was my class teacher. Sylvia. Congratulations. The teacher's voice was filled with excitement. You're the city's top scorer this year. Right now, Tsinghua, Peking University, and several other top universities' admissions offices are fighting to get you to apply. Sylvia. Where would you like to go? Peking University. I said without hesitation. In my past life, I sacrificed my own study time to tutor Harlan. Though I eventually got into a prestigious university, I still missed out on Peking University. That had always been my regret. Now, I finally made my dream come true. I hung up the phone and turned to look at my parents. Their faces were full of shock and joy. Sweetheart, you're amazing. Dad excitedly picked me up and spun me around. Our Sylvia has finally made it into Tsinghua and Peking University. Mom couldn't stop her tears. We're going to throw you a grand graduation party, Dad said. So everyone will know we have such an amazing daughter. Okay. I smiled and agreed. I hugged my parents. And tears couldn't help but fall. Mom. Dad. Thank you. I love you. This summer, after my rebirth, I was happier than ever. No Harlan. No Lara. No more worries. Just me. And my dreams. Before I knew it, it was the winter break of my second year in college. Our high school class president organized a reunion. Sylvia. You've changed so much. You're getting more and more beautiful. My desk mate grabbed my hand excitedly. You too. I smiled and responded. Hey. Look over there. My desk mate whispered in my ear. Harlan and Lara are here too. I followed her gaze. Harlan was wearing a cheap sequin jacket. His hair dyed in rainbow colors. Looking like a flamboyant parrot. He looked nothing like the refined, suited-up elite from my past life. Lara, on the other hand, was dressed in a trendy online shop outfit. Heavy makeup, tightly holding Harlan's arm. as if she was afraid he would run away. My goodness. They look so tacky. My desk mate giggled, covering her mouth. But it seems they think they look fashionable. I gave a faint smile. Do you know? Their lives are pretty miserable now. My desk mate continued gossiping. Harlan's parents sold their factory and even their house to settle things because of him. He originally planned to repeat the year. But no school would take him. Now, he's stuck at a local, mediocre college. And Lara followed him there, mooching off his family. I heard about their kid. My desk mate lowered her voice. It's gone. Harlan insisted on messing around during the pregnancy. And ended up losing the child. I wasn't surprised. In my previous life, I'd already witnessed Harlan's reckless behavior firsthand. At that moment, Lara seemed to notice me watching them and shot me a hateful glare. Sylvia, what are you staring at? Don't think just because you got into Peking University you're so special, she snapped. I'll tell you now, Harlan is mine. Don't you dare keep thinking about him. I laughed. How could I possibly keep thinking about a piece of shit like him? I said with disdain. I was just wondering two pieces of shit stuck together. It must stink. The air froze for a second. Then the classroom erupted in laughter. Some nearly spitting out their drinks. Lara's face turned green with rage. But she couldn't retort. Harlan, on the other hand, looked utterly embarrassed, wishing he could crawl into a hole. My desk mate, seeing the two of them get humiliated, was fired up. Some people, they don't even know their own worth, and yet they think they deserve something better. She deliberately raised her voice, ensuring everyone around could hear. Sylvia here has joined a national-level research project. Her future is bright. Some people will never reach that level, no matter how hard they try. I noticed Harlan's eyes light up for a split second, then quickly dim. In my previous life, we both participated in the school's research project. After 3 years of hard work, we finally made a major breakthrough. With that achievement, we received investments from big business figures and gained fame and wealth. But now, without the backing of a prestigious university or a laboratory, and without my help, how could he possibly develop any project on his own? Not to mention, in the past 2 years, he hadn't been studying at his college at all. His mind was all about using his memories from the previous life to make quick money. Unfortunately, having fulfilled the timing, conditions, and people weren't on his side. And everything he touched turned to failure. Even his father, angry beyond words, refused to clean up his mess and had cut off his allowance. Now, he was entirely dependent on Lara to support him. Lara, embarrassed and laughed at by everyone, lost face and actually raised her hand to slap me. But Harlan stopped her. Enough! He shouted angrily. Lara, face full of grievance, cried as she questioned him. If you still think about Sylvia, why did you ever accept my confession? Harlan was embarrassed by her outburst and slapped her back in frustration. Stop making a scene. Lara covered her face and ran off crying. I, too, made an excuse to leave. I simply couldn't eat with Harlan in the room. When I reached the hotel entrance, Harlan called out to me. Sylvia. He hesitated. I apologize for Lara's unreasonable behavior earlier. No need. I replied. I've never given a damn about the two of you. He looked shocked. His face darkened. And after a long pause, his voice became hoarse. Sylvia, can I take you out for a meal? No need. Seeing you makes me sick. I rolled my eyes and flagged down a taxi. Oh, by the way, I stuck my head out, adding, seeing how miserable you are now, I'm actually really happy. I left, leaving him with a confused expression hanging in the air, unable to process what had just happened. Later, I graduated. With the research achievements I'd gained at school and the network I built, I successfully started my own business. I bought a house in Beijing and settled in the city. I wanted to bring my parents over to live with me, but they said they were used to their hometown and didn't want to move. I respected their decision and could only try to visit them whenever I had time. During this trip home, I noticed that the town had changed quite a bit. Roads had been paved and new buildings were going up. While having dinner with my parents, they mentioned something that shocked me. Sylvia. Have you heard? Lara's dead. My mother said gravely. What? I almost dropped my chopsticks. It was Harlan who killed her. My father added. Ah? I was even more shocked. From their rambling conversation, I gathered the general details. In recent years, Harlan and Lara's marriage had been plagued with constant arguments, mostly over money. Harlan had even repeatedly abused her. Lara, unable to bear it, left home and started seeing other men. Harlan tried to drag her back, but was beaten senseless by her lover. Lara mocked him, calling him a coward, and had thought she'd become the factory owner's wife, only to find out his family's business was deeply in debt. She hadn't enjoyed any wealth and had only suffered. She'd had enough of it. She also told Harlan a cruel truth. Her father hadn't tried to sell her off at all. It had all been a scam, a honey trap. She had sent the same love letter to many wealthy classmates, but only Harlan had believed it. Upon learning the truth, Harlan was nearly broken. One rainy night, he killed Lara and her lover with 18 stabs. Then fled. The police are everywhere looking for him. Be careful when you go out. My father warned. My mind was in turmoil. I never imagined it would end like this for them. It was truly tragic. That evening, I went out to take out the trash. Under the dim straddle twilight, a figure froze me in place. As I looked closely at his face, I suddenly found it hard to breathe and instinctively tried to run. But he suddenly lunged from behind, one hand tightly covering my mouth, the other pressing a cold fruit knife to my throat. Sylvia! His voice exploded in my ear, filled with pure madness and hatred. Why didn't you just tear up that damn letter? I struggled, but my strength was no match for his. I could only whimper. You knew all along that if I hadn't gotten involved with that bitch Lara, I would have aced the exams. I would have succeeded in business. It's all your fault. You ruined me. His breath was heavy, reeking of alcohol and despair. If it weren't for you not stopping me, I wouldn't have ended up like this. The knife pressed harder, and I felt the sting. Then he suddenly laughed a low, chilling laugh. I'm going to kill you. And then we'll be reborn together. In the next life. In the next life, I'll love you properly. In my previous life, his mother had torn up Lara's love letter, and I stayed silent, thinking it was just stopping him from dating him. But in the end, what did I get? His insincere love, and his brutal murder of me. Harlan was a complete, pathetic coward. He blamed his failed life on me. How laughable. Harlan. Go to hell. I screamed. As soon as he started yelling at me, I quietly pulled out the pepper spray from my bag. In the moment when he thought I was too weak to fight back, I swiftly pressed the nozzle, and a strong, pungent liquid sprayed directly onto his face. Ah! Harlan screamed, instinctively releasing his grip and covering his eyes. While the fruit knife clattered to the floor, I took off running, charging into the nearby brightly lit diner, shouting, "Call the police! Call the police! The fugitive is going to kill someone." Upon hearing this, some people rushed to call the police, while others immediately ran out to help search for the fugitive hiding nearby. With their help, Harlan was quickly caught. His verdict came soon after. Harlan was convicted of attempted murder, fleeing the scene, and being a repeat offender. With irrefutable evidence, he was sentenced to death, to be executed immediately. Before his execution, he had his lawyer pass on a message to me, saying he wanted to see me one last time, that he still had something to say. I refused outright. I couldn't bear to look at him again, afraid that the nightmares would return, suffocating me in fear or anger once more. It was all over. Harlan was finally a thing of the past. The beautiful life that belonged to me continued to move forward. And, just after coming out of the hospital, I saw my husband being proposed to by his first love, who was wearing a wedding dress. When Joel refused despite the jeers from the people around, I smiled weakly. No matter how many rumors there were, he still had me in his heart. But in the next second, he picked Makey up and said, "The matter of proposing should be left to the man." Thunderous applause broke out around, but my heart was as dead as ashes. I turned around and left the hospital to prepare the divorce agreement. Joel arrived home late at night. He had completely forgotten about picking me up from the hospital and didn't even ask why I had been to the hospital. When he entered the door, there was a faint smile on his lips. He was taken aback when he saw me sitting expressionlessly on the couch. "Why aren't you asleep yet?" He walked over and handed me a box. "A gift from my business trip." As he got closer, I smelled a faint scent of roses on him. It was the same scent as a perfume he had given me before. When he gave it to me, he said that since I was allergic to pollen, let the most passionate flowers bloom on me. So was it because Makey liked using this perfume? Seeing that I didn't take the box, Joel frowned unhappily, but still patiently opened the box. There was a bracelet inlaid with pink diamonds. I had just seen it on Macy's WeChat Moments. She was wearing it on her wrist. The caption was, "I'm long past the age of liking pink. Now I like bright red." It was something she didn't want. Now Joel was giving it to me. I found it really ridiculous. After 6 years of marriage, am I only worthy of what others don't want? I threw the box onto the table, and the bracelet fell out. Joel frowned severely. "I'm exhausted from just coming back from a business trip. What on earth are you making a fuss about?" "Exhausted to death? Where did you get exhausted? On Makey?" I was so angry, and I blurted out words without thinking. He had taken Makey away from the hospital at noon, and only came home late at night, still smelling of her perfume. Countless speculations flashed through my mind, and I suspected them with the worst intentions. Joel was stunned, and his face changed. "What are you talking about? Why would you slander a girl like that?" "Slander?" I was so angry that I laughed. "Today is supposed to be your wedding night. What are you doing back here?" He was slightly stunned and realized something. "You saw it all." Suddenly, I felt it was really meaningless and lost the urge to get angry. "Let's get a divorce." "Divorce? You want to divorce me just because of this little thing?" His look of disbelief actually surprised me. This little thing? He had already promised to marry someone else. And it's still a little thing? Then in his eyes, what could be considered a big thing? "If we don't get divorced, won't it delay you from marrying someone else?" For some reason, Joel suddenly got angry. It was as if he was the one who had been cheated on. I was just playing along with her. There were so many people watching. She's a girl who publicly confessed her love and proposed to me. If I had refused, wouldn't she have been made a laughingstock? If it weren't for the fact that the happiness on his face when he hugged Makey couldn't be faked, I might have helped him and convinced myself with this excuse. But I couldn't. The smile on his face at that time was one that had never appeared in all the years since we got married. I had never been more clear-headed than at that moment. My husband, it seemed, didn't love me. Seeing that I didn't speak, Joel's anger grew even stronger. "You don't trust me, do you? You just suspect that I've cheated on you all day long?" Men's ability to shift the blame seems to be inborn. I almost doubted whether I was really making a big deal out of nothing. I don't know how they define cheating. It seems that as long as they're not caught in bed, they always have an excuse. No, even if they're caught in bed, they'll say they were just chatting under the covers. I quickly came to my senses and handed him the prepared divorce agreement. He sneered angrily. "You prepared it so quickly? Fine. You're something. You've wanted to divorce me for a long time, right?" After saying that, he tore the agreement into pieces. "Bella. Not to mention, where could you go without me? Could you even survive?" Strangely enough, I wasn't as sad when I saw him hugging Makey, but his undisguised put down made my eyes red. He had completely forgotten that I had lost my memory to save him. I slapped him hard. His head was turned aside by the slap, and he stared at me blankly. After all, in the past, I had always put him first in everything. I had never even said harsh words to him, let alone laid a hand on him. Joel was so angry that he pinned me down on the couch. I subconsciously wanted to protect my stomach. But then I remembered that I had just come back from the hospital and lowered my eyelids to hide my dull eyes. I thought he was going to hit me. But he bit hard on my shoulder. There was a rose tattooed there for him. His dull and muffled voice rang in my ear. "No divorce." The pain made my tears come out, but I couldn't push him away. It wasn't until his phone rang that he let go. A ringtone I had never heard before. Like a customized ringtone for someone. Makey let out a low sigh. Don't be afraid. I'll be there soon. Joel got up and left. He completely ignored me on the couch. I wasn't going to be outdone either. I immediately dragged my luggage and moved out. When I got home from the hospital at noon, I had already made up my mind to leave. I quickly looked for an apartment online and found a one-bedroom apartment. But since it wasn't ready yet, I could only stay in a hotel for the time being. I didn't take the cards Joel had given me or the clothes he had bought for me. I only took some clothes I had bought with my own salary. After arriving at the hotel, I looked in the mirror and lifted my collar. On the pink and bright rose on my shoulder, there were 2 rows of bloody tooth marks, making the rose look even more vivid. He really bit hard. When I touched it, it seemed that I could still feel the temperature of his lips. There was originally a scar here. It seemed to be left when I saved Joel. Later, I heard that he liked the goddess of my river. So I tattooed one on my shoulder. When we first got married, when he peeled off my clothes, his eyes lit up. Now that I think about it, it was probably because Mickey liked pink roses that he liked them by association. I was really ridiculous. I actually thought he liked the flowers. He had always only liked the person who liked the flowers. I closed my clothes and got into bed. I thought it would be difficult to sleep in a strange environment. But unexpectedly, I slept surprisingly well. When I was at home, because I was waiting for Joel who didn't know when he would come home, I often slept lightly and would wake up at the slightest noise. Just to make hangover soup for him in time when he came back from drinking at business dinners. Otherwise he would have a headache the next day. Occasionally, when he didn't come home all night, I would also stay awake all night. Now it's good. I don't have to worry anymore. Unexpectedly, I dreamed of the past. In the dream, I saw a person floating in the sea, with his life hanging in the balance. Without thinking, I went down to save him. This person was Joel, who had an accident while snorkeling by the sea. In the end, both of us were swept away by the waves. And it was the local fisherman who saved us. But I hit my head on a rock and lost my memory. When I woke up at that time, I didn't recognize anyone. I just thought Joel looked a bit familiar. So I followed him closely. He used his family's influence but couldn't find my family. And couldn't even find a single piece of information about me. And I was his savior. So he could only let me follow him. He even gave me a new name, with the same surname as his. During that period, he was gloomy every day, and I tried every way to make him happy. But it had no effect at all. Until one day, he said he wanted to marry me. At that time, I had lost my memory and didn't understand what it meant. He said to be a forever family. Live together forever. And he would be good to me all his life. I agreed. He was good looking. And looking at him made me feel good. I was willing to look at him all my life. During that period, Joel always took pictures with me and uploaded them to social media. He did it many times a day, never getting tired of it. After getting married, I gradually learned a lot of things. I also found that the photos Joel sent to the social platform were only visible to one person. His note for her was Makey. As for why he married me, it was also because there was news of Macy's engagement abroad. When I woke up, I felt as if I had been fished out of the water. I remembered that it wasn't just these things in the dream. It seemed that I also dreamed of things before I lost my memory. But I couldn't remember them no matter how hard I tried. I pounded my aching head and subconsciously called Joel's name. There was no response. It was empty. Since I lost my memory, he had always been with me. And I was subconsciously very dependent on him. The surroundings were a strange environment. And it was terrifyingly quiet. The light from the corridor shone through the crack of the door. Without thinking, I opened the door barefoot. But at the end of the corridor, I saw Joel carrying Mickey into a room. I stared straight at them. My eyes became sore from staring. I watched until dawn. But he didn't come out of the room. I laughed at myself. What was I expecting? I moved to the apartment and, as required by the doctor, rested quietly for 7 days and didn't go to work at his company. During this period, Joel didn't send me any messages. I didn't know if it was because he didn't go home either. So he didn't notice that I had left. Or if it was because he had Makey with him and simply didn't care about me. It wasn't until my supervisor called me to ask me to go to the company that I said I had already submitted my resignation application. She gave me a severe scolding, saying that the work needed to be handed over. Leaving without approval would require paying a penalty for breach of contract. Although I had saved some savings over the years, but I couldn't afford the skyge penalty. So I had to go to the company. I don't know what work content a miscellaneous assistant, needed to hand over. I was arranged to enter the company by Joel. Before I lost my memory, I didn't know anything and got in through the back door. So I was looked down upon by my colleagues. Joel didn't allow office romances, so no one knew my relationship with him. I was often given a hard time by my colleagues, and my supervisor turned a blind eye. Today, she arranged for me to move the shooting props. I wanted to refuse, but she gave me a cold look. Do you want to pay the penalty for breach of contract? I gritted my teeth and picked up the bulky shooting props. When I was almost at the venue, I was stopped by someone. You're Joel's wife with a problem in her head? It was Makey. She was dressed in high fashion, wearing a pigeon blood ruby around her neck. The dark red luster of the ruby made her look especially charming. She should be the new spokesperson signed by Joel's family. There was no need to guess. It was the resources Joel had given her. After Makey came back from abroad, Joel had thrown a lot of resources at her. I heard you work in Joel's company. Why haven't I seen you these days? Get out of my way. Don't block my path. What I was holding in my arms was a steel-made set prop. It must have been 30 or 40 pounds. I was barely holding on with gritted teeth. She seemed not to hear me and deliberately provoked me. Could it be that you're hiding from me? Oh, Joel and I are nothing. The confession and proposal to him at the hospital entrance yesterday was just because I lost a game of truth or dare the night before and needed to propose to my first love. I just didn't expect Joel to believe it. He already has you. Don't you think it's funny? I couldn't hold the prop in my hand steadily and it fell straight towards her. Before I could steady myself, I saw a familiar figure rush up and push me aside forcefully. Bella, did you do that on purpose? I was pushed to the ground by him. And the prop also hit me. Before losing consciousness, I saw Joel nervously holding Makey in his arms. He looked down at me with a cold and stern face. Makey didn't want you to misunderstand. She was so busy with her schedule but still wanted to explain things to you. And you actually tried to hurt her. I felt a warmth at the back of my head. When I touched it with my hand, it was covered with blood. Everything went black before my eyes. I only felt that I fell into a warm embrace and seemed to hear Joel's nervous and trembling voice. How could it be Joel? He was only nervous about his Makey. I kind of regretted it. I regretted that I didn't just bump straight into Makey just now. Bella, you're awake. When I woke up, Joel was by my bedside in the hospital. He was being overly attentive to me. He peeled fruits for me and fed me. Even though I didn't pay much attention to him, he still looked at me and grinned foolishly. In the past, he had never been this patient with me. Bella, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have pushed you in a moment of panic. Fortunately, hadn't fulfilledly. The doctor said it's just a mild concussion and nothing serious. I looked out of the window, because of Makey. I understand. His brows furrowed and his lips twitched. Let's not care about her from now on. Let's live our own good life. Do you have any discomfort in your stomach? Why did he suddenly care about my stomach? I looked at Joel. You already know? He beamed with joy. I know everything. You still wanted to hide it from me. Assistant Liang found out when he was getting you a change of clothes. You're so happy that the baby is gone? We said this sentence at the same time. He didn't want me to have his baby. He probably wanted Makey to have his baby instead. Joel was stunned and his smile froze on his face. What are you talking about? Looking at his expression, I realized that he had misunderstood. I burst out laughing. Don't tell me you thought I was still pregnant? Why do you think I asked you to pick me up at the hospital that day? He stood there, dumbfounded, his voice hoarse. What? When did it happen? I sneered. Do I still need to tell you? On the night he chased after Makey and went abroad. I fell to the ground because of a headache. I called him countless times, but he didn't answer any of them. I called the emergency number. When I arrived at the hospital, the baby couldn't be saved. The next morning after losing the baby, he lied to me without batting an eyelid, saying that he was on a business trip. But I saw the WeChat moments post by Makey, which showed his side face. The caption was, "It feels so good to be firmly chosen by someone." They went to see the coastline and drank the wine mixed by the tavern owner. Joel looked guilty. "I'm sorry. I was on the plane at that time and couldn't answer your call. And I was too busy later and forgot to call you back. Why didn't you tell me? I could have come back earlier." Even now, he was still deceiving me. "Were you really just busy? Busy accompanying your Makey, right?" He frowned. "What are you talking about? I just happened to meet her abroad." "Really? That's quite a coincidence. Coincidentally enough to get on the same car. And coincidentally enough for her to sit in the passenger seat. And what about the night you came back from the business trip? Where did you go?" "Macy's water pipe was leaking at home. I went to help her check it." I sneered. "I saw you carrying her into the hotel." He was stunned. "She fell down and her house was full of water." I turned my face away, not wanting to see him. Instead, he got angry and slammed the door and left. Like when we had arguments before, I was always the one who would give in first. Even when he was the one at fault, he would just act superior and wait for me to coax him. I'm tired of it. From the day Joel left until I recovered from my injury and was discharged from the hospital, I didn't see him again. The supervisor had been calling me to ask about my resignation. I was so annoyed. I called Assistant Liang and asked him to handle it for me. It was much quieter after that. But unexpectedly, I received a call from Joel. After we had known each other for such a long time, the occasions when he took the initiative to approach me were very few. After I picked up the call, there was a silence on the other end. When I thought he had hung up, he spoke. "You want to resign?" "Yes." "Why did you ask Assistant Liang? Why not me?" I thought he was coming to scold me. But I didn't expect him to ask me this. I scoffed lightly. "Otherwise, if I asked you, would you support me?" When I first started working, I was tricked by my colleagues to search through the trash cans for the documents I had lost. At that time, I really thought I had lost them and was so anxious that I searched through all the trash cans in the company. My colleagues gathered together and laughed at me. "Look. I told you she was a brainless idiot." She actually believed it. At that time, Joel walked by without even looking at me, allowing me to be ridiculed. Although I agreed to hide our relationship, after work, he didn't show any concern for me. There was only ridicule. "Who told you to be so stupid?" So, when I was bullied, I never thought of asking him again. I wanted to bring up the matter of divorce, but I found that he had already hung up. When I called back, he didn't answer again. It made me laugh. What a jerk. But not long after that, Joel called again. Angrily, "Bella. Where are you? Where are the things in your room?" So, after I had been gone for so many days, he hadn't even noticed that I had moved out? Fine, hadn't fulfilled my answer. You have to make such a fuss, right? I'd like to see how you'll live without me. After saying that, he hung up again. Because I had no memories, no family, and no skills to make a living. He thought that I couldn't live without him. It's really ridiculous. No one will die without someone else. Since I couldn't get in touch with Joel, I went straight to the old house. It was quite unfortunate that today happened to be the family banquet of the Joel family. Not only was Joel there, but he also brought Makey back and let her sit in the seat that originally belonged to me. Their family was having a great time. And they didn't even give me a glance when they saw me coming. No one here liked me. When I married Joel, he didn't have a good relationship with his family. He seldom came back to attend the family banquet. Since he didn't come, I naturally seldom came either. But as a result, I received complaints from my mother-in-law, saying that I was as stupid as a pig. She also said that I had abducted her precious son and that he had forgotten his mother because of his wife. After being married for a long time, she then complained that I was a hen that couldn't lay eggs. Anyway, Tedding fulfilled my obsession. She didn't like me in various ways. But now she was extremely kind to Makey. She was picking up food for her and serving her soup with an enthusiasm that she had never shown to me. I heard that she was also strongly opposed to Makey entering the Joel family before, saying that she was an actress and not presentable. But Joel then married me, who was inferior to her in every way. In this comparison, my mother-in-law now thought Makey was perfect in every way. I stood there for a while. The host didn't pay any attention to me. And the servants didn't dare to say much either. I just watched them quietly. Makey picked a piece of fish and put it in Joel's bowl. Joel didn't like fish. He thought it was troublesome to pick out the bones. And he was a bit of a germophobe and didn't like the servants to touch his food. Every time, it was I who picked out the bones for him and put the fish in his bowl. I thought he wouldn't eat it this time either. But I wasn't quite sure. After all, it was Makey who had picked it for him. Hearing Macy's soft voice, "Joel, I want to eat." Joel didn't show any impatience. Instead, he was in a good mood as he picked out the bones and considerately put the fish in Macy's bowl. I watched silently, not knowing what to feel. Joel put down his chopsticks, wiped the corners of his mouth with a napkin, and then looked at me. "Have you had enough of making a fuss?" My mother-in-law was a person who cared about her face. Seeing that Joel had paid attention to me, she couldn't put on airs anymore. She greeted me with enthusiasm on her lips but without any warmth on her face. Oh, and now Bella is here? I was so busy chatting with Makey that I didn't notice you. Why don't you sit down and eat with us?" I looked around. All the extra chairs had been removed. Where was I supposed to sit? Seeing that I didn't respond, my mother-in-law pretended to be shocked. "What? Are you shy? It's a family banquet. There are no outsiders here." No outsiders. Meaning she didn't consider Makey an outsider. I'm not even divorced yet. And she's already moved in. Makey blinked and looked at Joel. Joel. Why is she just standing there and not sitting? Does she not welcome me?" Joel raised his eyebrows at me. He wanted me to give in. If I gave in, he would, as he usually did when my mother-in-law urged me to get pregnant, be merciful enough to say a few words for me. But this time, I didn't meekly pull his sleeve and coax him to help me. I looked at them, smiled and nodded. "Okay. Then I won't be polite." And I sat right on Macy's lap. Everyone was stunned. Macy's body went rigid and she let out a shrill voice. "What are you doing? Didn't you ask me to sit? Afraid that I don't welcome you? I'll sit closer to you so you can really feel how welcome I am to you. Are you crazy? Do you have to sit on me?" She pushed me, but couldn't move me. I turned my head to look at her and blinked innocently like she did. "Don't you know? I have problems with my brain." Joel frowned and called my name in a deep voice. "Bella. What on earth are you trying to do?" Before he could finish his sentence, I picked up a piece of fish and threw it into his bowl. "Hurry up and pick out the bones. She likes it." He was stunned for a moment, as if he had sensed something, and then sneered contemptuously. "Are you jealous because of this? Get off Macy's lap quickly and apologize to her." Without blinking an eye, I threw the divorce agreement right in his smug face. My mother-in-law came to her senses from the shock and slammed the table in anger. "Sure enough. You're ill-mannered. If Joel hadn't insisted on marrying you, would you have been able to enter the door of our Joel family? How could he have married you? You." She pointed at me. But for a long while, she couldn't find a suitable adjective to describe my action. Disrespectful to elders. Bold and reckless. Unruly. I propped my chin on my hand and lazily helped her come up with a few adjectives. She got even angrier. "Bella. Look at you. In terms of upbringing, knowledge, and ability, which one of them can compare to Macy's?" I was so worthless in their eyes. I could feel Macy's chest vibrating behind me. I kindly reminded her, "Are you secretly enjoying this? Hold it in. I can feel it." She turned her face away in anger. "You're sick." Suddenly, she seemed to think of something and said in a voice only for the two of us, "Don't you really think that Joel had a diving accident? Actually, it was because the two of us were separated by our families. I was forced to go abroad, and he jumped into the sea to commit suicide. I should thank you for saving him. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to see him alive when I came back." I was horrified. So, Joel had attempted suicide because of her. Then everything that followed could be explained. I composed myself and ignored her. I looked at my mother-in-law and said, "You're right. Since you like her so much, Then divorce my father-in-law and marry her into the family. My mother-in-law's face turned red and then white. My father-in-law, who had been staying out of it all this time, finally spoke up. Don't drag me into this. My mother-in-law was so angry that she could only say, it's such a misfortune for the Joel family to have you as a daughter-in-law. I took out the bracelet and placed it on the table, pushing it towards her. You're right. I'll make your family lucky right away. Give me back my jade bracelet. This jade bracelet on the table was given to me by my mother-in-law when we got married. Judging from the current standards, its quality is average, worth only a few $100,000. But she took away the imperial green jade bracelet that I had been wearing before I lost my memory. I remember she said at that time, a new daughter-in-law should wear the jade bracelet given by her mother-in-law. I'll put away the one you were wearing before. She was an elder. So of course I obediently listened to her. Later, I heard her discussing with her sisters about how an orphan girl like me could have such a nice thing. The quality of the water in it was even purer than that of the 200 million yuan jade bracelet she had bought last year. Later, I often saw her wearing that jade bracelet when she attended banquets. Now that I've decided to divorce her son, the jade bracelet that belongs to me, of course I have to get it back. My mother-in-law's face changed slightly. When Joel saw me take out the jade bracelet, he started to panic. What did you say? Say that again if you dare. He grabbed me and forced me to look him in the eye. By now, he was somewhat certain. I was serious about divorcing him. I wasn't just making a fuss. No one knew better than Joel how much I had cherished this jade bracelet on a daily basis. The opening of this jade bracelet was too big for me. Whenever I did anything, I would take it off to avoid it getting knocked or bumped. If he so much as touched it a little more, I would constantly remind him to be more careful. He was so annoyed that he pretended to throw it away. Is a broken bracelet really worth treasuring like this? I quickly went up and hugged it. Of course it's precious. It was given to me by my mother-in-law. It's a symbol of our being together. Joel didn't like such formalistic things. He didn't understand that it was just a bracelet. He said he could buy me as many as I wanted. He said in a sullen tone, if you treasure it so much, you might as well marry it. That made me laugh. He was actually jealous of a jade bracelet. I quickly coaxed him. Of course my husband is the most precious. At that time, he snorted coldly on the surface. But the corners of his mouth couldn't help but turn up. I still thought he was easy to coax. But it was all just an illusion of being affectionate. I collected myself and looked at him with a smile. I said, I want to divorce you. Joel was so angry that his chest heaved violently. The corners of his eyes were red. He looked as if he couldn't bear to part with me. But shouldn't he be happy? If he divorced me, he could marry Makey. Joel laughed angrily. Divorce? Don't even think about it. I frowned. Why? Can't bear to part with me? How could that be? If there's a divorce, it should be me divorcing you. My company's lawyers will contact you later. Joel turned his face away and stopped looking at me. I nodded. It had better be like that. I looked at my mother-in-law, who was looking delighted. I hope that on the day the divorce agreement is sent over, you'll also return my bracelet to me at the same time. She looked a bit embarrassed but still stubbornly said, the Joel family isn't some small and insignificant family. Will we covet your things? We'll give it to you when the time comes. I turned around and left. When I reached the door, Joel called out to me, Bella, are you really going to divorce? Don't regret it later. I looked back at him. Please call me Bella from now on. After returning to my place, Joel called twice. After I hung up, he didn't call again. Instead, my supervisor and colleagues, who hadn't been in touch for a long time, suddenly started to show concern for me. They were probing, both openly and secretly, whether I had regained my memory. My previous colleagues didn't know about my memory loss. This sudden turn of events, without a doubt, was Joel's doing. He couldn't bring himself to come and ask me directly, so he used others to do it. But after looking around, he found that apart from him, I didn't really have anyone else around me. So he could only get the colleagues who had worked with me before. I was annoyed and simply deleted them all. Not long after, Joel sent me a WeChat message asking if I had regained my memory. I didn't reply. Finally, hadn't told my inside. He sent the time and place for the divorce. I replied instantly, okay. He sent a voice message, Bella. You're really something. He was gnashing his teeth. I could imagine that his face must have been really ugly at that moment. After that, there were quite a few rumors about him and Makey. Most of them were about their first love coming to fruition, getting back together, and good things being on the way. The media's reporting like this wasn't without reason. Because my marriage to Joel had never been made public. Looking at the photos of them attending events together, objectively speaking, they did look quite well matched. The two of them announced their engagement for next month. Right after the divorce. Joel's schedule was really tight. When I caught a glimpse of the ring on Macy's finger, I was stunned. It was my wedding ring with Joel. At that time, I had fallen in love with the shell-shaped diamond and on the ring at first sight. I insisted on having this one. Joel said it was childish while paying for it. And now, it was on Macy's hand. The Joel family was really thrifty. The next time we met was at the Civil Affairs Bureau. After submitting the materials, there was a 30-day cooling-off period for divorce. When I came out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, Joel called out to me, Bella. I didn't even pause my steps. He caught up with me and grabbed me. But for a moment, he was at a loss for words. I shook him off. He called me again. I stopped walking. I've already told you to call me Bella. He pursed his lips. When did you regain your memory? I have to thank you and Makey for this. If it weren't for getting hit on the head by you two, I wouldn't have regained my memory. He mumbled. Then you really should thank me. He was really good at taking advantage of the situation. I strode away. Where do you live now? I'll give you a ride. No need. I came here by motorcycle. I put on my helmet and started the motorcycle. I didn't expect that you could ride a motorcycle. After saying that, he turned his head to one side. I'll give you one more chance. It's not too late to regret it now. I simply started the motorcycle and left, leaving him standing there. In the rearview mirror, I saw Joel standing there in a daze. He was looking at me in disbelief. Obviously. He didn't expect that the me after losing my memory was completely different from the me before. The me after losing my memory was the personality shaped by him. Docile and gentle. But that wasn't the real me. It was the me that Joel wanted. Joel seemed really sad. Wasn't he about to get engaged? There wasn't a trace of joy on his face. From the moment I entered the club, I saw him at the bar, drinking one glass of wine after another. Makey was beside him, trying to persuade him again and again. Finally, hadn't fulfilled my obsession. He hugged Makey and cried. I had seen this kind of affectionate drama from him before. In the past, there were a few days every year when Joel would get drunk like this. I didn't know why. But I would just stay by his side and watch over him. Later, I found out that those days were special memories between him and Makey. And they held special significance for him. Who was he mourning now? Me? He treated me like trash when we were together. Now, who was he putting on this show for? I couldn't help but find it a bit funny. It looked quite interesting. And I accidentally had a few more drinks. Someone stopped me. Jason leaned in close to me and whispered in my ear. In front of your fiancé, are you thinking about your ex-husband? I raised my eyebrows and looked at him. Technically speaking, I'm still not divorced from him. He's still the legal one for now. He was so angry that he gritted his back teeth. Are you for real? Believe it or not, I'll tell Mom and Dad that you're here right now. My face darkened. Get lost. Jason was the child adopted by my parents. Since I was the only daughter in the family and there was no one to inherit the huge family business, they wanted to train a son-in-law. But Jason had been against me since childhood. I didn't want to marry him. So I ran away from the wedding. After passing through several countries, I finally ended up here and lost my memory. I looked at the carefree Jason. After 6 years, he seemed to have lost a lot of weight. His eyes no longer had that youthful look and had become calm and composed. You're just after my family's property. What are you doing here looking for me? If I wasn't here, the property would have fallen into your hands. Jason's eyes flickered. He moved closer to me and grabbed my neck. I won't be at ease until I see you dead with my own eyes. I'm here to silence you. Smash. A wine bottle was thrown at him. And Jason blocked it with his arm. Joel glared at Jason angrily. What are you doing to my wife? Jason slowly sized me up. After making sure that I hadn't been cut by the broken glass. He looked at the person who had come. Joel, with red eyes, questioned me. Bella, you're divorcing me because of him, right? Makey sneered beside him. I say, Bella, even if Joel doesn't like you, you shouldn't cheat and seduce other men. In her eyes, Jason looked quite refined. She thought that an orphan girl like me, who had no power or influence, shouldn't have been able to get in touch with him. She took it for granted that I was the one who shamelessly seduced him. I looked at her with a smile. I'm not like you. People with a dirty heart see everything as dirty. Makey was furious. You're the dirty one. Joel protected her behind him. Bella, don't go too far. I rested my chin on my hand and looked at him. Joel, do you think everyone is like you? He staggered towards me. Then why are you divorcing me? Because I couldn't protect the child in your stomach? Or because of Makey? Because of Makey. Right? I won't contact her again from now on. Will this satisfy you? Macy's face changed. She grabbed the corner of his clothes. Joel. But he pushed her away. And she fell to the ground. She looked at me with hatred. It made me laugh. You too, you too. Such performing personalities. I signaled Jason to leave. Joel tried to stop him. But Jason kicked him away. He apologized without any sincerity. Sorry, ex-husband. I didn't expect you to be so weak that you couldn't even take a kick. The next day when I woke up, Jason told me that he had suppressed 10 hot search topics. It was Makey who had bought the surveillance video from the bar, which was edited to show only parts of it, trying to smear me as seducing someone else's fiancé. She really loved to stir up trouble. I sent a Weibo post. I wish the two of you a happy marriage for 100 years. I'll be divorced soon. Don't be impatient. Joel Makey. I attached the marriage certificate photo that was taken before. They became a hot search topic. The whole internet was criticizing them. Especially after Jason added fuel to the fire by posting the surveillance video of Joel proposing at the hospital online. The hashtag rich family scumbag and slut was on the top of the hot search list and remained highly popular. Joel found me soon after. I thought he was coming to confront me. Unexpectedly, Hanan fulfilled my Sasha. He seemed a bit excited. What are you doing? Anyway, heading fulfilled my obsession. We're getting divorced. Why are you making such a fuss? Don't want me to marry someone else? Then I interrupted him. Because you two have provoked me and made me really unhappy. There's no other meaning. He looked down. His eyes full of loneliness. Bella. Can we not get divorced? You clearly loved me. As Bella. I did love you indeed. Joel looked at me. Hope rising in his eyes. But I don't love you anymore. Why? Because of Makey? The news that I was going to get engaged to her was false. Actually, I did it on purpose to make you jealous. I don't want to divorce you. In the end. His voice trailed off. I love you. Bella. It's you that I love. I was surprised. During the 6 years of marriage, he had never said the word love to me. Only when I didn't want him anymore did he say that he loved me. I looked at him. Do you really love me? When you married me, you just took advantage of my amnesia and used me as a tool to anger Makey. You say you love me. But actually you just think I'm easy to control. I had no memories and my whole heart was on you. You enjoyed my dependence. Got used to my tolerance. And you knew I couldn't leave you. So you could hurt me without restraint. Rather than saying you love me. It's more like you don't like things that are out of your control. Joel was stunned and took a few steps back. He murmured in refutation, no. Then he fled in a hurry. When it was time to get the marriage certificate, Joel arrived on time. He looked dejected. It seemed that he hadn't had a good sleep for several days. After getting the certificate, we walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau. I held out my hand to him. He was stunned for a moment. Then looked down. Sorry. That jade bracelet was given away by my mom. The company wanted to break into the overseas market. And the heir of the overseas Bella family happened to like that jade bracelet. So my mom gave it to him. I'm sorry, without your permission. I can compensate you at a discounted price. 1 billion. Joel didn't say anything. And his assistant beside him opened his mouth wide. The market price was only about 200 million. 1 billion was indeed a bit of an exorbitant demand. Okay. Joel agreed without hesitation. His assistant's mouth opened even wider. After all, I had just taken half of Joel's fortune and now I was asking for another 1 billion. Joel's net worth dropped sharply. His being so straightforward made me a bit unhappy. I should have asked for more. It's better to ask for more when you can get it for free. I turned around to leave. Bella, I've thought about it when I went back. I do like you. Not just out of habit. What kind of feelings you have for me don't matter to me anymore. I walked away without looking back. Bella, can I pursue you again? Joel tried to grab me, but only managed to pull off my coat. He stared blankly at my bare shoulder. The image of the goddess of Woe River had been washed off long ago. The light in Joel's eyes went out completely. He understood. He grabbed my hand and slowly let it go. The next moment, I was suddenly pulled into an embrace. It was Jason. He was smiling. But his eyes were gloomy. I wondered why you didn't bring me. So you were having a tussle with your ex-husband. I pushed him away. Why do you care so much? I'm your fiancé. Oh, I don't admit it. Bella. When I was about to get on the car, Joel, who was standing there, called out to me. I turned back impatiently. I've already said it. Can't you understand human language? His lips moved as if he was saying something. It was too far away. I didn't hear clearly. That day, Jason and I got on the plane back to our country. I whirled the jade bracelet on my wrist and glared at the person beside me. After recovering my memories, I went to look for the bracelet. I knew I could find myself with this bracelet. With her ostentatious nature, Joel's mother spread the word about this rare imperial green jade bracelet in the upper-class circles within a couple of days. Many people offered high prices to buy it. And finally, it was discovered by Jason's people. Joel's mother borrowed something to make a present to others in order to climb up to the Bella family. Who knew it would finally return to its original owner? Her son even had to pay 1 billion. I waved the bracelet in front of his eyes. Humph. Who said I have no business acumen? I got 1 billion for nothing. Just in these 6 years, I've made 7.6 billion. Jason's face darkened, and when he heard this, he grabbed my wrist tightly. Is there anything lacking in our family? Do you need to suffer so much just to make this little money? I don't want you to interfere. If I don't interfere, who will? We'll get married when we go back. Who wants to marry you? I have business acumen now. I'm going back to inherit the family business. I crossed my arms over my chest and looked out of the window at the sky. This journey ended. Time to go home.